Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our Leading Through Crisis live webinar event. This is part of our Outlook and Opportunities initiative. Given the effects of COVID-19, we have all been completely reoriented and all lives have been affected. We're hosting webinars like this. This is our first of a series to help you address real-time issues that you are facing, and we wanted to bring industry professionals together to talk about topics that are on your mind. So this is an event that we're hosting for you, and we're not here to sell anything. We're here to talk and have frank conversations about the problems and challenges that you're facing. And our hearts go out to all the individuals and families that have been affected by this crisis, whether it's sickness, the loss of financial stability, certainly emotional challenges, and then the most tragic loss, the loss of life. It's truly been devastating, and our whole world has been rocked. So we do need to continue to move forward, and that's what today is about. And my name is Nathan Mersereau, the president of Planning Alternatives, and we're happy to host this event today. And we have so many attendees from all over the country, really. So I'm delighted that you're joining us, and we're going to use this time to cover topics that, like I said, are on your mind. You can submit questions as we go through this discussion. You can do that through an online chat box, and we've got a moderator that will send questions in as we process this together. And as we continue and evolve this discussion, we want to even provide offers to have separate conversations if need be, offering consultations, complimentary consultations to you. So this is our way of giving back. This is our way of helping you through this crisis and helping our community. We're all in a community together, whether it's where you live in your neighborhood or a global community. And we want to share resources, process things, and move forward. I would like to welcome my co-panelists. Very excited to have Marci Hahn and Chris Perro join me today. Marci Hahn is the founder of Lotus Legal Solutions, and Marci's range of legal expertise includes family law, various types of litigation, evaluation of legal risk, financial reserve risk. She's a certified mediator and a certified collaborative divorce professional. She's licensed to practice in Michigan. So she's a member of the State Bar Family Law Section, the Collaborative Practice Institute of Michigan, and the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals. And she's frequently appointed by the court to serve as a guardian for minor children or as a parenting coordinator in the highest conflict divorce cases. Marci has also, I'm excited that she's has rolled out her podcast, Divorce, What to Expect, where she's sharing her unique perspective on getting through divorce and ways to minimize the pain but maximize the healing. Chris Perro is an associate broker for Max Brock Realtors in downtown Birmingham. And Chris has 20+ years of experience in the real estate industry and has finished as one of the top 5 agents and our teams in Oakland County for the last 5 years. He sold over $60 million worth of real estate in 2019, which ranked him as the #1 individual agent versus a team for the Real Estate One Max Brock family of companies. And he married with 3 children. Marci, your 2 children, and you have a birthday coming up, I know, on Tuesday that you mentioned. So yeah, that's exciting. So that's our introduction, and I'm going to kick it off to, and I guess for the people who are joining as well as guests, our company, Planning Alternatives, we're in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. We have clients throughout the country, and we're a fiduciary wealth management firm and helping our clients manage their entire financial life. And our mission is to empower our clients to live the life they value and make sure their money is aligned with that purpose. And there's been plenty of challenges in all of our industries. And I guess I'd like to just start off asking each of you what you are seeing in your specific industries, and how is this crisis affecting your clients? What are you hearing? So Marcy, would you mind kind of sharing
Sure,
your
sure.
perspective?
I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me on this panel, Nathan. I really appreciate it. From a family law perspective, one of the big challenges that I'm seeing is with respect to custody and parenting time right now. One of the big questions that my clients have is, first of all, whether their kids can go back and forth between two different households. And under the Michigan governor's order, they can. But then the bigger question becomes, should they? One personal story I can share is that I'm divorced, and my former spouse is married to a Beaumont nurse. And when this whole thing started, it made me very nervous to think about my kids going back and forth between the two households because of, while we're thankful for her service, we're also concerned about her exposure to the virus. And so we were able to create some ground rules for our family that we were going to follow at both households. And that's, one of the tips that I try to give my clients is to try to come up with some rules. I mean, sure, the governors are telling us whether we can leave the house or not, but then once you do leave the house, how should you be interacting? How should you be bringing groceries in? I mean, these are things that you should really be having conversations about in your family so that you can keep consistency for your kids and help keep them safer. So that's one of the big issues we're seeing right now.
Chris, what about you? Real estate obviously is a key part of just about everyone's life. What's going on?
And thank you as well for having me on the panel today. For us, we have been shut down as part of the shutdown order that began on March 23rd. So for all practical purposes, we have not been able to show homes. We haven't really been able to have direct client-to-client interaction in person. So as you would imagine, that has created a lot of challenges in terms of the ability to sell homes right now. So both buyers who need a home and both sellers who need to sell a home, this has created a significant challenge that we're all trying to work through a little bit. So we are able to still close transactions. We can inspect, appraise, and close, but we can't show. So it's created difficulty in really moving any homes right now.
Now, because we're living in a virtual setting, Zoom, GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, can there be virtual showings, or
Yes.
how do you balance that?
Yeah, so we have virtual tours. Some properties have virtual tours already set up. And so a lot of listings online, people can go on and take a tour that way. We've had other people, sellers who are living in homes have done FaceTime or Zoom calls to walk clients through a property. So we've been able to do that. With that said, there's only a certain percentage of the population that really wants to purchase a home that way. So there have been homes that have sold. Some people are willing to purchase homes sight unseen. And so there's been a little bit of that going on. So the market is not down to zero. It's just very, very limited. I would kind of call that at a standstill. So most people are in a wait and see approach right now. So I don't see a lot of homes dropping in price right now. I don't see a lot of new listings coming up. I don't see a lot of prices dropping. We're really just kind of flat and in a wait and see approach.
And just to dive into the pricing, because I know that's on a lot of people's minds, do you think it's a maybe artificial hold? Like how do we know what the real price is until time passes?
I think that's a fair question. I think it's hard to project what's going to happen to values moving forward. I've seen opinions on each side of the equation. There are people that feel that the market will maintain stability coming out of this. There's low inventory. Interest rates are really strong. There was a pent-up demand coming into this. I've also heard people talk about the fact that this is not a real estate-led recession. If you think back to 2008 when we went through that period of time, that was a real estate-led recession. Prices dropped significantly, but there were fundamentals in the real estate market that caused that to happen. There's a belief right now that that's not the case. And so, of course, we're impacted by the job losses that people are feeling right now. And certainly that could lead to some situations where people are pressured to sell. But as a general overview of the market, both in Michigan and nationally, the real estate market was pretty stable coming into this. So there's a hope coming out of it that it'll be the same.
Marcy, as Chris described, the change and the ability to transact and how to do business, what's the landscape in the legal community, even in the court system? Like, what's going on there that you see?
Yeah, so another thing that the clients have been very concerned about is whether they can even really go to court and get help right now, or if they're in the middle of their divorce, what's happening with the court system. And different counties have really taken a different approach. So some counties are moving very quickly to Zoom. So Wayne County has already said we're going to do everything by Zoom in family court for the foreseeable future, including anything that is happening at the front of the court. In Oakland County, they've put some procedures in place, but it's really more judge by judge. Some of the judges are doing Zoom for everything, and some of the judges are almost acting like nothing's different, which is really kind of interesting. But in the family side, in Oakland County, you can't file anything unless it's an emergency until May 15th. So right now, the courts are really operating on a very limited basis. And so one of the things that I've seen this lead to is, because you can't get in to see the court, you can't get into the decision maker, parties are really having to figure out how to work things out, either on their own or with the mediator or with the parenting coordinator, because these issues still come up. Issues of custody and parenting time, issues regarding child support and alimony, and it's still there. It's just that the normal place where we all go to get those issues worked out is kind of on hold. So people have had to be, I think, a little bit more creative and maybe a little less litigious, which is probably a good thing.
With the sudden stop in the economy, that's created massive unemployment. Just in the last 6 weeks, we've had over 30 million unemployment claims nationally, and the economists are forecasting that Michigan's will approach a 23% unemployment rate for the available workforce. So that has a massive ripple effect at so many levels. But what goes on in the cases where maybe a former spouse owes certain amounts of support and there's unemployment that kicks into, it rises its ugly head?
Yeah, that's a great question. In a number of cases where there's already a child support order or there's already an alimony requirement, the court doesn't automatically change those things just because you've lost your job or you've had to go on unemployment or you've been furloughed. So if it's a situation where somebody is unable to pay what the court has ordered them to pay, they're going to have to take some action, either by filing a motion with the court or talking to their individual attorney about how to make it adjusted. And frankly, the courts are going to have to come up with something to deal with this, because it's going to be, as you said, up to 23% of people are, out of work, or they're just completely upended in terms of their income. And so while normally you may not see as many requests for a change in child support, I think we're going to see a massive request for change of child support, and the courts are going to have to come up with a streamlined way of dealing with it. I don't think they have done that yet. I think we're kind of in the creative brainstorming phase, but the front of the court is the agency where you typically start a request to change your child support or your spousal support. And I think that there's going to have to be some virtual easy ways that people can get their orders modified.
Thank you. In our world, in the wealth management space, we've seen massive disruption, obviously, to the financial markets, and We went from a high point on February 19th to a low point, well over 30% sudden drop. And it was the fastest drop in history from the financial crisis. And people are just processing that. Now, what's interesting in our world with the financial markets, the stock market, the bond market being the two major fields, stocks always look forward. They're trying to figure out what's down the road, 6, 9, 12 months down the road. So when there was such a sudden decline, it was the stock market simply saying, hey, this is going to get really bad, historic bad. To a historic level. And in fact, it created a recession. We are in the throes of a recession that every person, every family is trying to figure out and sort their way through. And from a financial standpoint, back to the markets, they constantly look forward. So for the last, we just finished the month of April with one of the strongest months in a long, long time. And there's recovery in the stock market, but there's always volatility. What's happened, though, that we're seeing is that the significant steps that the government is taking around fiscal policy, where they're providing specific relief. So we've had stimulus checks, we've had PPP for small business owners, paycheck protection programs, we've got extension on tax filing deadlines, we've got relief on required minimum distributions coming out of retirement accounts, we've got loan provisions that are available for people in this financial crisis. There's all of and that's just naming a few. There's such a scattergraph of relief that has been put into place, and that's designed to help individuals. So I encourage everyone who's listening today to make sure that they're tuned in to what benefits they can take advantage of during this time, and then build that plan going forward. We talk to our clients about focusing on cash. For all of our clients that have been in a withdrawal mode, we have adequate cash for their needs. But at a personal level, all of us have our personal economy, and we need to be looking the next week, the next month, the next 3 months, the rest of the year, and mapping out a financial plan to help navigate all conditions, because we've all mentioned it's such a fast-moving environment and things are changing moment by moment.
Yeah, Nathan, what advice would you give to people who have applied for PPP in the first round, but didn't get it and are waiting to hopefully get it in the second round of funding? Do you have any comments or advice on that? Because that's something I know I've faced, and some of my clients are facing it as well.
Absolutely. No, it's a program that just got received additional $300 billion of funds. The bill was passed last Friday, and it was Monday of this week that they reopened the program again. So it's my understanding that if you applied for the first round and didn't receive it, you're first in line for the second round of funding. And the best thing to do is stay in contact with your loan or finance connection at the bank. In this round that was refunded with the over 300 billion, there's about 60 billion that was allocated to community banks, which are more connected to small business typically. So they wanted to make sure there was some distribution clarity. There's also been controversy about this PPP program, Paycheck Protection Program, and some big institutions got money, and then people are saying, why do you need all this money? Because the program was designed to cover payroll, utilities, rent for a 2-month period or 2.5-month period, and it's subject to loan forgiveness if those expenses or the loan is being used to meet those expenses. So some of the larger companies that benefited from it are even turning the funds back to say, well, we really don't need this. So it all boils down to, for business owners or people in small business, and it's defined as under 500 employees. That's what the PPP program is set for. So all small businesses are being affected by this, and it's really important to have a plan and pivot and make sure your cash is the #1 priority and how to navigate that.
And I think the banks have gotten, more time this time around to have their policies and procedures in place with how to deal with the the application pool too. So hopefully this round is smoother. And this is not something I've been involved with myself, but I've just seen reports and of course talked to other clients who have dealt with it as well.
Yeah, it's been extraordinary, the speed at which laws have been passed, funding has been sent out. Definitely, there's going to be hiccups and glitches, and that's understandable. We were not prepared for this, is the bottom line. We're in reaction mode. So when you're in reaction mode, you just got to slow down, take care of what's in front of you, start to categorize what's a distraction, what's a necessity, and break that down so that you're always focusing on your priorities, either in your personal life, in your business, your professional life, your family life. All of these things, we have a juggling aspect that we all face. Chris, thinking about the real estate market, so with spring here, do you think there's going to be this surge in real estate activity? Is everyone just like chomping at the bit?
So March, April, and May are traditionally our three busiest times of the year, or busiest months of the year. And this occurred right in the heart of the quote unquote spring selling season. There are a number of sellers who opted to pull their homes off the market as a result of not being able to show it in person. Some chose to stay on the market and continue to try to take advantage of the online sites and virtual tours. So once this shutdown ends and we are allowed as real estate agents to go back and show houses, I do anticipate a flood of new inventory to hit the market. There'll be a group of listings that had pulled off the market that are now ready to come back on the market. And then there's going to be another group of listings that had intended to list during this time frame who have been waiting to list until we get the all clear. So I'm very confident that there will be a number of homes coming back on the market. What will be interesting to watch is how quickly the buyers return. I know certainly there's a number of buyers that are active and need a house and want to get in quickly. It's the other segment of the buyer population that doesn't necessarily need something tomorrow. They want to do something soon. And how quickly are they going to feel comfortable getting back out and walking through houses? So I do think there is pent-up demand. I do think we're going to see a quick return to activity, but I think the listings will come quicker than the buyers at first. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that goes.
One thing that we see and have been talking to a lot of clients about is taking advantage of these incredibly low interest rates around mortgage rates. So whether you can look at refinancing your existing loan, whether you're using different forms of credit, interest rates have been low, but they've gotten even lower. They've had to bounce back a little bit over the last couple of weeks in terms of the actual rate, but there's some people getting mortgages in the high 2%, the low 3%. And relative to the last 30, 40 years of mortgage history, this is an extraordinary time. What's your thought about how that's going to affect the housing market?
Well, certainly interest rates, the lower the interest rate, the stronger or the more it helps the real estate market. The current rate as of today, I checked in with one of my mortgage contacts, on a 30-year is 3.25%, on a 15-year is 2.75%. Those are excellent and historically low rates. It did get a little bit lower. I think I had heard as low as 3% on a 30-year fixed a couple of weeks back. It didn't last very long, but absolutely that helps. And interest rates being low can be a catalyst for home buyers and locking in long term. A lot of people who are buying right now might not be overly concerned about, month to month fluctuations in the market because they're locking in for long term, and certainly with a low interest rate, they'll take advantage of that. The flip side is there are some tighter restrictions that are coming with mortgages. So credit minimums have crept up a little bit. Some of the down payment requirements are going to be a little bit higher. Some of the, cash out refinances are becoming more challenging. Those are considered higher risk. So we'll benefit a lot from some of the interest rate levels, and we'll get hurt a little bit because of some of the tighter restrictions.
We're receiving some questions from our audience. So Chris, one is here for you. Do you believe that this is going to change the home equity, the HELOC rates as well? Is there a separate, do they all kind of synchronize, or is there a separation between the mortgage and HELOC?
So I should state I'm not a mortgage expert, so it's not my area of expertise, but I think the home equity line of credit rates are more closely, they're not exactly tied into the mortgage interest rates. So I think the home equity line rates have been even more attractive. The challenge is, again, getting home equity line of credits if you don't have one in today's environment. And then if you remember back, and I'm not suggesting this is going to happen, but if you remember back in 2008, some of the banks froze those home equity lines of credit. So this is an ever-changing and daily watch on these things. But yes, I do believe the home equity line of credit rates will remain very attractive as well.
So Marcy, my wife Michelle and I have been married 27 years, and the other night we had a little frosty conversation, which no surprise, that happens. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I later get a text from Michelle with an outline. It was like an Excel sheet that said with the title, how to talk to a woman during quarantine. And it had categories of, here are the dangerous things to say versus various levels of safety to very, very safe things, which included wine. A lot of wine conversation.
I saw that, Ethan. That was funny.
So not that we're considering divorce, but the stress of being in, the same place with a family member, a spouse. I've read some things that it's expected that divorce filings may surge. What's your read on this whole thing?
I mean, I think this may push some couples, over the edge in a bad way, and it may solidify some relationships too. It may give people the break that they've needed to reconnect. But I think that there has definitely been, unfortunately, a big increase in instances of domestic violence. And so, really important that people have those resources if they need, if they need help, that they know that they can reach out to their community for that. But I do think that when this is over, that there is going to be, fortunately or unfortunately, an increase in the number of people that are, wanting to just move forward with their life in a different way.
I know your experience and expertise is in the area of collaborative divorce, which, as we've worked together, I have been impressed by what your paradigm and your approach is. Would you mind, how can people discover collaborative process through conflict?
Oh, I would love to give a quick plug on that, because collaborative divorce is a healthier way to reach the same result. So many people think, oh, we have to get divorced and it's going to be nasty and we're going to litigate in court and it's going to cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. And really the collaborative process is a way that you can resolve your family's issues through a series of private mediations. It also allows you to keep your dirty family laundry, so to speak, outside of the public eye. and really empowers you to make a decision for your family moving forward that is decisions made by you and your spouse, not made by the judge who really doesn't know anything about your case. So I could give a lot more information about that, and would be happy to talk to anybody if they have follow-up questions about that or are just interested in learning about the different methods of getting divorced, because it is important, I think, to research the different ways to go about it before you venture down that path.
We found that as people process this change, a lot of people are rethinking about what their priorities are. I mean, we've got a lot of time at home. We've got a lot of time just to reflect. We've always wanted to spend more time at home with our family. So guess what? Here we are. And I'm having some conversations with people about what they view as maybe a change in priorities. Maybe my career track is, well, I want financial stability. I want a good job and know where get all my ducks in a row. Maybe having all the material things that we often chase isn't as important. Realigning to simplicity or back to the core values that drive all of us. So that's been an interesting thing, and how people, I see, processing that is breaking it down into how do we get through this crisis? And we don't know, we don't know. Lots of opinions. We don't know how this is going to shake out. So we need to be ready for a range of possibilities, from the very bad to the very best. And then I'm seeing more people want to maybe pivot a little bit that could affect real estate decisions and say, well, we want to do something, either downsize, upsize, renovate, buy a cabin near the lake. It could be a lot of different. They sell the house and rent and just see the world, whatever that looks like. So what are you hearing from clients as they process their life that either directly connects to your business or just kind of ear to the ground? What are you hearing?
Is that for me, Nathan?
Yeah, either of you, I guess. Yeah. Just our chat here.
So I have had some speculative talks with other agents about how this, month or 2 month, whatever it ends up being, time at home will change perspective as to, as you said, what we really need in a home moving forward. I mean, it could be a period of time where people say to themselves, gosh, this house really doesn't work for us for a variety of reasons. It could lead to wanting more space and additions. It could be we have too much space and want to downsize. So I certainly think this is a time where all of us are reflecting on many things other than just our jobs and the big picture and what our lives will look like moving forward. So I have not had a lot of calls yet from clients who have specifically stated as a reason for needing to do something this time period of being stuck in their house. But I certainly envision that is going to be a factor for people moving forward.
One thing that comes to mind, I just want to throw it out there. What do you think about, on the real estate side, homes of the future have more dedicated work from home arrangements, meaning there's maybe 2 offices, one for each spouse. And there's you're showing a home and you want to show that there's room to set up your office and your phone line and your monitors that you need for your computers, things like that. Is it, that could be a trend that emerges.
100%. Yeah, 100%. There's been discussion about how people have a real open floor plan, and everyone's wanted an open floor plan. And now I think people are appreciating their little nooks and crannies of their house where they can escape from time to time. So that and certainly the possibility of more people working from home as a result of this moving forward. Number one, we haven't really talked about the commercial real estate market, which I'm not really involved in, but I have conversations with people about how is that going to impact office space moving forward. And then, as more people are working from home, certainly, both children doing school and two spouses having to work from home, everybody needs their space to get things done. So it has to have some level of impact moving forward. It will be interesting to see specifically what happens.
What are you seeing, Marcy?
I see some people really just appreciating living in the moment more. And also I'm seeing people having had artificially taken everything away from them, right? So all of your sporting activities, your extracurricular activities that you used to do with your family, dinners out, family events, whatever it was that kept you busy before has kind of been artificially taken away. And I'm talking to a lot of people who are saying that in a way that's not a bad thing, and there'll be certain things that they don't want to add back in, you know? So maybe this is going to lead us to a more thoughtful approach to things, or maybe it's just going to help us create a little bit more space for ourselves. I was sitting in my backyard the other day, and I was just sitting there, and there must have been 20 birds in my yard, and I thought, you know, these birds are probably here all the time, but I'm not. So it's like nice to just be able to sit here and enjoy a backyard, whereas, you know, typically we're all just running around and not really appreciating the moment. So that's what I hope that this will lead to more of for people.
That's great insight. I encourage everyone who's on the call to submit any questions that you may have. We're here for you. This is an open discussion. We'll spend another few minutes here, but want to make sure that all questions are covered. One question that came in, Marcy, for you is about the, you mentioned the emergency level of taking, what defines an emergency? Just out of, you know, is it a hard and fast definition, or how is that?
Yeah, it's not really a hard and fast definition. It really relates to if it impacted the health or safety of minor children. So abuse and neglect cases, obviously those are going to be a top priority, or anything where a child is not in a safe environment is really what's rising to the level of an emergency right now. And you know, that, to my point about the domestic violence increase, it's really can be scary for children who are trapped in a not so great situation. But the courts are functioning in the sense that if you did have an issue, then your counsel could get something before the court, either electronically or otherwise, but there just are not really, other than criminal trials, anything going on in terms of jury trials or contested court hearings right now.
Thank you. I guess as we think about wrapping up here, what final advice would you have as you're processing this in your industry and with your clients?
Well, I'll start. And I think on the real estate side of things, number one, you know, this time should be used, I think, partly to, as we talked about, really reflect on what you need in a home, what's important to you, what makes sense, where you envision yourself moving forward. You know, rates are historically low. There may be some opportunities coming forward, so it is a good time to think about that and plan from a standpoint of sellers who are planning to sell their home in the near future. Certainly this time, if you are at home, which most of us are more often, use the time to declutter and get organized. And you know, homes don't have to always be completely updated to sell well, but clean and organized homes always stand out. So we can certainly all be productive around our houses during this time. I think moving forward, I'm still optimistic on the strength of the real estate market here in the second half of the year. I think we will certainly, as real estate agents, change our practices in terms of how we are working. I think the Michigan Association of Realtors has presented a list of some objectives that we would use moving forward in terms of how we operate coming out of this and trying to do our jobs in a safe manner. So there will be some changes, you know, we're going to try to limit the number of people going to showings. You know, we are going to probably limit open houses. I think you're going to see virtual tours becoming more and more popular. We've never been able to close remotely. Closings have always had to occur in person and having documents notarized. I think there is a push to try to figure out a way to do some of those things remotely. So as much as we can do, I think we'll try to do with a limited amount of people and remotely. But I think generally speaking, it is also a profession in which we're not really gathering large amounts of people most of the time. And I think we can figure out a way moving forward where we can do it safely and make sure everybody's comfortable.
Marcy, what do you have for final advice?
Yeah, from my perspective, I would just say that, you know, life is short, and to the extent that this has been a time for people to really reflect on what they want out of life, that they shouldn't be afraid if what they need to do is really move forward with their life in a different way. And I always encourage people to be kind and be true to themselves. And sometimes those are hard things to do at the same time. But if you do that, then I think it really can help add meaning to your life. So I'm here to help if anybody has anything that they want to follow up and talk more about.
Oh, thank you. And so everyone knows, we are offering for the month of May 20 complimentary consultations. So there'll be a survey that goes out to everyone who's on this webinar, and just indicate you'd like to meet one of us or all of us to talk about your personal situation. No strings attached. It's about helping you figure out what's going on in your life and building a plan to move forward, because that's really the key. And from my point of view, we're doing more discussions around financial planning, as I pointed to before, and everyone needs a plan. None of us are without a plan. It's a matter of making sure it's the one we want, and it's by design, not default. So as we've been talking to clients and taking all these provisions that are available through the economic relief packages and discussing them, that's what our main priority is in the short term, to connect to the dots to our clients so that they can get that benefit. In my perspective, is echoing really combining points that you both brought up. There's decisions to make, but there's got to be alignment with what's important in your life. So having a plan in place about what life looks like, and then getting your finances aligned, getting your family life aligned, getting your real estate decisions aligned. It's all about the connection point to a plan that's designed for your benefit and your family. And I know, just as we work together as professionals, that's the grid that we all see things through. So what's in the best interest of the people that we serve as clients, and who we want to see be successful, but most important, fulfilled in their lives. So in that light, I want to say great chatting with you, Marcy. Great chatting with you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I told the team the other day, we kind of put a little mark on our wall, kind of if we're in a pretend prison here, another day we're crossing off in our quarantine world, but we will get through this, and we'll stick together with our family and with our community, and we will make it. So I want to thank everyone today for joining us. Please take advantage of the consultations that we're offering. Give us a call. We're here to help. Until next time, take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Have a good day.